Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda, and please welcome to our Operation Freedom platform, WeThePeopleProcessing.com. You know, are you tired of being threatened to be canceled just because you have a company focused on liberty and freedom? Well, worry no more, folks. WeThePeopleProcessing.com is your go-to merchant services, freedom-based company to provide business service payment solutions. We the People Processing provides their clients a cancel culture-free platform which is domestically based. They provide competitive rates, no contracts with next-day funding, a fully vetted and like-minded financial infrastructure, and full support for integrations, implementation, and e-commerce efforts. Bottom line, WeThePeopleProcessing.com focuses on defending your company's free market growth, values, and future. Check them out at www.WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Once you're on the site, enter in password Operation Freedom or call 855-499-2024. That's WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Then, when on the website, enter Operation Freedom as your password or call 855-499-2024.
Mr. President-elect,
go ahead.
Can you state categorically
the question?
Mr. President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a
question.
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. Our goal with this platform is to provide you information you're not going to get from the bought-off lamestream fake media. And with that information, you become empowered. And with your empowerment, well, you have an opportunity to network it. Network that information to anyone and everyone you know. The more people that are educated with the facts, the truth, the data, the science, well, the sooner we end this reign of terror by the deep state. If you did not join us for this past Sunday's radio show, it's free. You can listen live every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. Go to davejanda.com, hit the listen live button. The podcasts are available on our website. It was a very, very hard-hitting show on issues I cannot go to on YonTube. Censorship is beyond alive and well. All you have to do is look at the numbers they say of people that are watching our videos. It's a joke. And we know it's a joke because when we look at the number of people coming from YouTube to our website, they are very similar to where they were when we were getting tens of thousands of more views. They're suppressing view counts to make you think that these videos are, well, just not that popular, so I'm not going to forward it. Don't fall into their game. They are panicked and they are desperate. And speaking of panicked and desperate, you know who's panicked and desperate right now? The Biden-Harris regime. They're melting. Because their political foundation, which was always built on quicksand, is coming up and grabbing them. Their bamboozle is even making its way into the mind, that's being too kind, into the hard heads of even the people out there in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor. Even the zealots are getting it, finally. The question, is it too late? Their bamboozle is falling apart. Carl Sagan. Remember Carl Sagan? The astrophysicist, you know, the guy who would come on Johnny Carson's show and talking about billions and billions of stars, and right? I want to pass on a quote by Carl Sagan. Here's what he wrote. Quote, "One of the saddest lessons of history is this. If we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back, end quote. You almost never get it back. Well, hopefully, this time we do. Because if we don't, we lose our country, our remaining freedoms, and our remaining liberties. It's that simple. This past Friday, some information was presented in the state of Arizona. I can't go into it here because of the censors. But let me try to give you an analogy here a little bit. $2. United States of America Federal Reserve notes. Right? If I'm going to give you $3, if I give you these $2 and this sticky note that has a $1 on it, am I really giving you $3? No, I'm not, am I? I'm giving you 2 legal tender notes and this that's fraud. And that's what was exactly shown in Arizona. You see, the bought-off lamestream fake media has been telling you that, well, it showed that, the results were the same. The count was the same. This wasn't a recount. This is what they're not telling you. It was a forensic audit. And what that forensic audit showed is there were many legal ballots. But there were also a huge number of fraudulent notes, sticky notes. They don't want to tell you that. There were a number of teams that did this analysis. Remember, Biden and Harris, well, their margin in the entire state was 10,457 this past November. But what this forensic audit, not recount, showed was that there were 2.1 million ballots counted. Many of them were legal. But there were over 70,000 yellow sticky notes with $1 written on it. 70,000 minimum. This is why the foundation has always been on quicksand, which is why they're so panicked and desperate. They're melting. They're melting. And even the zealots are hanging their heads. I didn't, if I would have known this, oh yeah. Yeah, they're no longer scratching at my window. They're wandering around aimlessly with their heads down. What's led to some of these issues? For months before the election, we spoke about on this platform, when, by the way, our views were still getting suppressed, right? Our views starting to get suppressed the week we got monetized. The very week. But now, it's beyond suppression, right? Because they don't want this information to get networked, and that's where you come in, right? For months, we told you about Hunter Biden's laptop. Months before the election. Well, now you got a book. Book reveals Biden family corruption. Quote, we've got people all around the world who want to invest in Joe Biden. A new book released indicates the Biden family corruption scheme sought to enrich son Hunter and brother Jim Biden while Joe Biden was the ranking member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And it only escalated when he was vice president, right? Just look at what happened in Ukraine. Oh, yeah, in the Middle East. Oh, yeah, in China. Remember on that laptop, the $1.5 billion that was laundered from China into the Biden family, where the big guy got 10%? Yeah. And you wonder why? This guy and his administration, with Obama and Valerie Jarrett, and Susan Rice and Victoria Nuland all pulling the little strings, why China is appeased? It's all about this. It's always been about this. And then we found out, remember, Hunter wanted $2 million a year from Libya, after they did away with Gaddafi. What did Hillary cackle about? We came, we saw, we killed. Yeah, special. He wanted $2 million a year. That's what he was talking to the people in Libya that took over there to unfreeze their assets, because he knew people. Daddy. When he wasn't calling hookers, right? And he wasn't calling to get crack. He was calling Daddy. Get you 10%, Dad. Cha-ching. Jill in the background. Oh, hit the cash register. Yeah. But then we have remember, Russiagate, right? More melting. Remember, that was just all conspiracy theory. No. We finally, Durham moved off a dead center. And you saw that the DNC and Hillary's attorney, Sussman, was indicted. For what? For fraud. For going to the FBI and telling them, oh yeah, there's evidence that there's collusion between Trump and his organization and Russia. Yeah. And come on. The FBI could have figured that out in 4 seconds. But they kept it going for 4.5 years. They're trying to act like, wow, we got the wool pulled over our eyes. Stop it. They were complicit in the whole thing. Something we've said for years. But remember, in this Russiagate issue, part of the whole foundation of what the Obama-Biden administration did was based on illegal surveillance. That's something we've talked about. First time we talked about it was on March 19, 2017 with General McInerney with the support of Admiral Lyons. Came on our show and spoke about how Obama and Biden and Brennan and Clapper, which involved Mueller and Comey, took a parallel platform and were illegally surveilling Trump and General Flynn and millions of other Americans for leverage purposes. You see, that's what they had to cover up, and that's what helped launch the Russia hoax. They needed Flynn out of there because Flynn knew where all the dead bodies were. He knew what they were doing, and they had to get him out of there. And frankly, they used Pence to get Flynn out of there because Pence is the one who convinced Trump to get rid of Flynn. Frankly, Trump should have considered the source. From the very beginning, I told you about Pence. And many of you, I'm not going to subscribe to your platform because you don't like Pence. Right, I don't like Pence. You're right. I'm old. I have been around the block. I first got to D.C. in '88 to work on healthcare policy at the end of the Reagan administration. You could smell Pence a mile away. He's corrupt. Fact. And I said it for years. And don't ask me why. President Trump couldn't figure that out. But he didn't, obviously. Or if he did, he allowed it to continue to fester. Much like about 150 or 200 other people around him who didn't do him or our country any service. Speaking of entities that haven't done our country any service, the FBI comes to mind, doesn't it? Their fingers are in every pot. Just this past week, right? Remember that whole thing that happened in January, earlier this year? Well, now even the New York Times on a Friday night. If we put it out Friday night, they won't know. Admitted that there was at least one informant, and we all know, many informants from the FBI in that entire goat rodeo of an event in early January of 2021. This is their track record. No one should be surprised. You know, just a couple months before that, they pulled something off here in the state of Michigan. They tried to, anyway. With this hoax of a Whitmer kidnapping. She's so important, they wanted to kidnap her. Oh, stop. There were 12 informants and 6 guys that got roped in on it that had nothing to do with the planning. It was all the informants from the FBI. It was all a setup. Oh, by the way, the guy who was running the Detroit field office here in Michigan that kind of was overseeing this whole setup, before January of this year, after this whole thing with Whitmer, he got promoted to where? To Washington. You think he had something to do with? Yeah, sure. And this hit this week here in Michigan. Epoch Times talked about it. No, hardly anyone else did. FBI fires lead agent in the Whitmer kidnapping case. Oh, this whole thing is just melting, right? The FBI agent credited with foiling Governor Gretchen Whitmer's kidnapping plot no longer works for the agency after he was charged with listen, this is what a special agent he is, a servant of the people. Allegedly smashing his wife's head into a nightstand and choking her after a swingers sex party. The Detroit News reported that the firing of former Special Agent Richard Trask, who took the public face of the investigation and testified in court. However, the FBI has now dropped Trask as a witness after social media posts calling for former Donald Trump a D-bag and other expletives surfaced. The firing is another blow to the credibility of at least a dozen confidential informants planted within the Whitmer kidnapping plot, some who allegedly hatched the plan and another who rose to second in command of the group. It's all melting. Melting. While the FBI was illegally surveilling people, while the FBI was involved in this fake Russian collusion hoax for over 4 years that should have taken only 4 seconds of their time, well, Jim Baker, the lead counsel of the FBI, well, I was duped by this guy Sussman. Stop it, you sap. You were complicit in it. They're just hanging Sussman out as the scapegoat. Yeah, is he guilty? You bet he's guilty. But so are all of them. It's just one big cover-up. So while they were too busy pushing this fake Russian collusion hoax, while they were too busy cooking up this Whitmer fake kidnapping hoax, and then involved in planting informants in that January event from earlier this year. While the real event was occurring when General Milley, was networking with the Chinese, saying, I'll give you a heads up if something's going to happen. Okay, shh, okay, I'm your friend. Well, they're too busy this. They were too busy ignoring real crimes with real victims. One example of this was, and the bought-off lamestream fake media didn't want to touch this. Oh, we care about women so much. Oh, we care. Stop it. If they care about women so much, why are they trying to hide what's going on in Afghanistan, by the way? This Biden-Harris goat rodeo? Oh, we care about women's rights. Really? What about the millions of Afghan women that were thrown under the bus by Biden and Harris and Blinken and the rest of them? And they expect you to believe that they care about women? U.S. gymnast Michaela Maroney went in front of Congress. You didn't hear about this? Oh, yeah. Remember this Larry Nassar, who abused all these kids and women on the gymnastics team? Well, the FBI knew about it. And they didn't do a doggone thing about it. They were too busy creating this fake Russian collusion hoax. And they were too busy creating fake kidnapping plots of Whitmer. You know, right here in the state of Michigan, right where this Nassar at Michigan State University was based in East Lansing. They were too busy cooking up plots in Washington in January. They were too busy illegal surveilling everybody. U.S. gymnast Michaela Maroney, quote, this is what she said in front of Congress the other day, quote, after telling my entire story of abuse to the FBI in the summer of 2015, not only did the FBI not report my abuse, but when they eventually documented my report 17 months later, they made up entirely false claims about what I said, end quote. Does that ring true about General Flynn and the like? But remember, the Biden administration and Harris administration, they care about women. Congressman McCall, interpreters still in Afghanistan are gone. The Taliban will not allow them to leave, and they're already being executed. And millions of women are walking around with bags over their heads in Afghanistan to demean them. And that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what they do to women. It's abuse. And Biden and Harris are pushing this narrative. It's a kinder, gentler Taliban. Oh, jeez. You can believe that? Really? If you do, you're a fool. You're a sap. From Breitbart. On CNN's broadcast of the Situation Room, House Foreign Affairs Committee ranking member Michael McCall stated there are around 10,000 interpreters who work with U.S. forces that are still in Afghanistan, and they, quote, are gone. The Taliban will not allow them to leave, and they are already being executed, end quote. McCall said, quote, the interpreters who work with our special forces, they are gone. The Taliban will not allow them to leave, end quote. Host Wolf Blitzer then cut in to ask McCall if he was referring to special immigrant visa holders. McCall responded, quote, special immigrant visas, these are the guys that work right with our special forces. The Taliban views them as the worst of the worst because they betrayed, in their view, their country and they work with the infidel, end quote. Blitzer then asked, quote, how many people are you talking about, end quote. McCall answered, quote, we're talking about 10,000. If you multiply it by family, that's about 3 times that. So 30,000, end quote. Blitzer then asked, quote, so you think they're going to be stuck? They're never going to get out, end quote. McCall responded, quote, they're already being executed. We're already getting stories of families and interpreters being executed by the Taliban, end quote. And millions of women are being abused. But Biden and Harris care about women. Stop it. The only ones they care about, and this is not just true about Biden and Harris. Let's put some other people in that. Pelosi, McConnell, Romney, Lindsey Graham, McCarthy, Schumer, AOC, all of them in Congress, whether they have a D or R after in the name, they only care about one thing: themselves. If they cared about you or they cared about this country, we wouldn't be in this mess right now. Where is the opposition? No, there is none. The only opposition there is controlled opposition, because as I've told you for 11 years since I started the radio show in October of 2010, there's one political party in Washington, the Republicrats. They're all owned and operated by a criminal syndicate. All of them. All of them are owned and operated. They are controlled or bribed. And they're not fighting for you or me. They're fighting for themselves. That's all they care about. And they're overlords. They're puppet masters who tell them what to do and how to do it. There is no opposition politically. The only people speaking up are you and me and millions of other patriots that are saying enough. Enough. But it's only, they're only going to double down, the deep state. Right? The longer we remain silent, the worse this is going to get. Each and every one of us are obligated to tell our friends and families, coworkers, neighbors, anyone we meet, of what's really going on. Because that's the only way out of this, folks. This waiting till 2022 and waiting till 2024, that's just to keep you on the couch. Oh, somebody's going to come and they're going to come to the rescue. Stop. The only people coming to the rescue are you and me and millions of others of us that care about this country, that care about freedom, that care about liberty. Nobody in Washington is going to ride in. If you haven't figured that out yet, please let me help you figure that out. They want you paralyzed, and they want you in fear, and they want you to do nothing and just wait. It's time to talk. But they're targeting what's going to happen. They're giving you a heads up. Obama's CIA director says Biden Afghanistan calamity has, quote, absolutely inspired jihadists all over the world, end quote. The guy who said this is Mike Morrell. This is a guy who signed, one of the 500 who signed the letter saying that, oh, Biden and Harris, they're going to make things so much better. This guy, along with all 500 of those generals and admirals and former members of the State Department that are probably current members of the State Department and Defense Department, every single one of them should have their benefits stripped of them. Absolutely every one of them, because they were complicit in this crime. And meanwhile, so what is he telling you? He's telling you, look out, we got some other stuff coming our way here on shore. That's what he's telling you. You think that might happen? We're bringing all these unvetted and untested individuals, not only from Afghanistan, but streaming across the border by the millions over the past 9 months? You don't think this is a national security issue? I do. And he's telling you, yeah, something's going to happen. How do you stop it? You tell them we're wise to it. You put it on the table. We know what you're up to. For example, me, Morrell, we know what you're up to. We know what you're telling us. We got it. Something happens, it's on you, buddy. It's on all of you. When they think that actually the public is getting wise to things, they morph, they change, they go to softer targets. And that's the key. Many people, they convince people, you're one person, you can't make a difference. Yes, you can. Because one person that tells another person, that tells another 2 people, that tells another 3 people, that tells another 10 people, all of a sudden, you have quite a large group of people that have become wise. And when you start voicing this back to them, they go, wait a minute, we can't go there because they figured this out. Now we got to go somewhere else. We got to try something else. And you got to keep doing that. That's how we defeat these people. They're cockroaches. They can't stand light. The light of truth. The light of enlightenment. If you show them you're enlightened to what they're up to, they change. They don't stop. They just try to look for other targets. But at least you've deflected some huge issues and problems and events. You need to calm on now they're giving aid to Afghanistan. They're taking taxpayer money, Biden and Harris, and they're giving it to the Taliban. Do you think that's a wise use of your tax money? Do you? Do you really think so? People out here don't even think so. In the People's Republic of Ann Arbor. Congressman Waltz from Florida. Aid to Afghanistan is ransom for largest hostage crisis since Iran. Yeah. And while they're bringing all these people over, guess what? And this is something I've said, and people's like, oh, I think you're being so hard and so critical. We have a huge public health issue. These people are not just unvetted, they're untested. Now we have measles outbreaks at these military bases that they're bringing these people to in Wisconsin and Virginia. Oh, yeah, there's also COVID outbreaks. Oh, there's also violence outbreaks, assaults. Oh, yeah. Look, they want you to think two things. They want you to think you can't do anything, so just sit on your couch and don't do anything. Don't talk to anybody. Don't network any information. Just sit there. Okay? Number one. And number two, they want you to think that this is so far gone that there's nothing that can be done. Both are fraudulent, what they're telling you. Number one, don't sit on the couch. Talk to your friends and neighbors, co-workers. Educate them with the information we provide on this platform or other independent media sources provide. 2, stop watching the bought-off lamestream fake media. And that includes Fox. Remember when I talked at the beginning of this thing, I talked about what happened in Arizona with this and with this? Friday, there wasn't one word said other than Bret Baier, who's gained about 50 pounds. Well, what we reported in November was found to be correct. Stop. But he expects you to believe that. Or he wants you to believe it because he's a deep state shill, as is all of Fox is. Look, as much as I think Tucker Carlson does some pretty good work, he didn't say one word about it. Why? Because he isn't even allowed to. And that tells you all you need to know about Fox. They were complicit in what happened. They were complicit. Always remember that. And how could you ever trust them again with anything they ever put out? Anything. That's right, you can't. And that's where the independent media comes in. Look, I put 17 hours a day, every day, into this platform. But I can put it there at davejanda.com, on this YouTube channel, but mainly at davejanda.com. That's where I can't go into many issues here, or on Rumble for that matter, or frankly on the radio show. And that's what I do at davejanda.com. I give you the meat. And in that meat, it's nourishment of how to protect yourself and your freedoms and liberties. I hope you become part of our freedom family. Because I believe that's the way we get out of this mess. I thank you for your time. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail.